What's up, and welcome back to Nowstalgia Pod, your weekly look at what's going on in pop culture. My name is Pat Sheehan. I am here with my co-host, Dave Martinson. Dave, San Diego Comic-Con came and went. We have some things to talk about from that. We also got some music to get to today. And we got Don't Worry, He Won't Get Far on Foot, because 8th grade, not out by me. Only in what, like 33 theaters?
Correct. Yeah.
Give us
it's second weekend, 33 theaters, still slow rollout.
Give us a preview when we talk about this, presumably next week. Are you going to be pro 8th grade or anti 8th grade?
I'm pro 8th grade.
Seems to be
it's not my favorite movie of the year, but I'm pro 8th grade. It's good. It's very good.
Interesting.
A lot to like.
I've heard really good things from pretty much everybody that's seen it, so I'm excited to see it. Anything come up for you this week? I know you did a podcast with your friend Andy. Anything else going on for you?
No, man. A lot of news at a Comic-Con. A lot of various developments, both expected and unexpected. Big Twitter controversy leading to a firing of a Marvel director, which we'll get to. So a lot of Chance the Rapper dropped 4 songs right after we recorded last week. Chance the Rapper bought a publication, and he has a contentious relationship with the media recently. So a lot of stuff happened last week. But it was
unexpectedly busy week. Since we do have a lot to talk about Comic-Con and not a lot of time to get through it, why don't we do a quick segment of in or out, which we haven't done in quite a while. Why don't we start with the trailer? So I want to get this one out of the way because I don't want to talk about this one too much. Teen Titans. I mean, this trailer was something else. Are you in or out on Teen Titans?
Yeah, Titans. I'm out on Titans. Fuck Batman, obviously. It's on the new it's on the DC Universe streaming service. It's probably their flagship thing in terms of new content for the foreseeable future. But you just watch the trailer, and apart from the the fuck Batman headline, apart from that, like you have Starfire, you have Beast Boy, like it's a lot. That's a lot of tough characters to have on a TV budget. And it looks like a TV budget. Like it looks like a step up from the CW DC shows, but doesn't even look like it's up to the Marvel Netflix standard. So I just don't think the production value will meet the ambition. And I don't care that like Dick Grayson's really edgy and he's really more like Jason Todd, and that's not the real Dick Grayson. Whatever. Yeah, I don't care about that. Do what you want. But it doesn't look like it's gonna be up to snuff, unfortunately. I'd love to be wrong, of course, but yeah, not enthusiastic from that trailer.
Not at all. Basically, the only thing I'm even remotely excited for is for the next trailer when he's just degrading Batman more. So I'm looking forward to all the Batman degradation and then the memes that will come with it. Clone Wars, in or out?
Fuck yeah, so fucking in, dog. Hashtag Clone Wars save. This was the unexpected thing I was alluded to. 12 new episodes that'll be released on the Disney streaming service coming sometime next year. Dave Filoni back, just wrapped up Star Wars Rebels in the spring. What thing is so exciting about this is Clone Wars kind of ended abruptly because it was well underway at the time when Disney acquired Lucasfilm, acquired Star Wars, and it wrapped up with a short Lost Missions season 6 on Netflix. But then they had a storyline they made into a novel, Dark Disciple, and they had a lot of unfinished threads. The show didn't really have a proper ending. And then they just went off and made Rebels, and Clone Wars is still a canon show that still counts, but Disney kind of cut it off prematurely. So now that they're bringing it back, despite the fact that they already greenlit Star Wars Resistance, the next Dave Filoni show, which will be like leading up to Force Awakens. Really exciting because Clone Wars, there's a lot of cool stuff in there, and that cameo at the end of Solo that a lot of people were surprised about was actually really built up in Clone Wars. So yeah, really exciting for the fans for sure. I just never thought they would ever go back to this well. So very in.
Yeah, I'm in on it for 2 reasons. One, because it seems just like a great property. I've never really watched it, but I think telling these stories, especially because they're referenced so much in the prequels, is good. Keep fleshing those out, and it seems like they have interesting things to be talking about. But also because I think this means that they're not going to be pulling from that well for whatever future movies they're doing from. They're probably going to leave this to the TV show, and they're going to be exploring new worlds, which I think is just great. So it's just more that Disney and Star Wars moving in the right direction. All right, Fantastic Beasts 2. You got Newt Scamander back. Young Newt Scamander you see in the very beginning. You see young Dumbledore throughout this, and Johnny Depp. I mean, we're going to be talking about someone that got fired from a Disney property, probably someone else that should be recast based on some of the issues he's going through. What'd you think of this trailer? I'm in on this because I thought this trailer was way better than the first.
Yeah, I agree. I'm still in on it. Obviously, the reservations about Johnny Depp as Grindelwald are well-founded just because of his unreliability, and he's a total enigma now. It has nothing to do with the role itself. It's just that the way he's been on screen the past 5 years, and Pirates of the Caribbean Dead Men Tell No Tales from last year did not do anything to change that, in my opinion. But yeah, I thought that the trailer was a lot more exciting, and we saw a lot more of the Fantastic Beasts. I wasn't really sure how much of that, how much of the titular name would be like in the movie. But yeah, I'm just excited to see it, and it looks like Jude Law's Dumbledore will be in there a fair amount. So
yeah,
really excited about that. It's going to be fun, and I'm really looking forward to just the future of this 5-part series, just because it's going to get farther and farther away from what we know beyond the broad strokes that Harry Potter explains. So overall, really in, and I think it'll be better than the first one. The first one was solid, could have been better though. I think this has good potential.
Yeah, I agree with all that, and also just the fact that it looks like a thriller, which I think is going to be really cool. And shout out Nicholas Flamel at the end.
Yes,
I thought that was awesome.
Cool. Very cool.
Very excited. Shazam, movie coming out for DC. Zach Levi. I'm not sure which way to say it.
It's Levy.
Okay, so neither one. What do you think about this? I mean, there were some photos of him in this suit last week that were getting clowned on the internet. Then this drops. It looked okay. I'm actually on the fence. So I'm wondering where you lie.
I'm actually in on this. I like this one more than Aquaman. I think it has a lighter tone, something that DC largely hasn't had recently, and it looks like Zachary Levi was well cast as the adult form of Billy Batson. So it just seems like this is going to be a fun film. I think. I don't want to say this is like DC's Ant-Man, but it's similar, I guess, and this is something that it'll be, standing alone, by, almost certainly. And they need another standalone critical hit beyond Wonder Woman. And I think this can be it. So yeah, I'm in on Shazam. I'm looking forward to it for sure. That comes out, I think, April of next year.
I need to see the second trailer for this. I can't decide because there's things in it I really like. The tone of it seems good, although I think some of the jokes seem super lame, like the flossing. I was just like, I don't know about that. But I like the concept. I like the idea of it being a superhero that not a lot of people know, so they can really do a lot with it. But also, it looks like they're going to try to inject a lot of humor, which, if we're talking about how serious DC is all the time, and then they're doing something different, you got to give them some credit for that. So I'm going to hold out on my in or out for the moment. Something I'm actually really in on though is Aquaman. I mean, that trailer, Momoa seems like he's going to be a great Aquaman. I mean, we saw him in Justice League, and I thought he was really good in that as well. Although some of the underwater scenes were a little strange, or not perfected. Where are you sitting with Aquaman after seeing the trailer?
So that's another one where I'm I could go either way with Aquaman. Okay. I could see it being great. I could see it being not too good. And you watch that trailer, there's a lot going on in a good or potentially a bad way. There's a lot of characters, a lot of good talent in there. Visually, it looks pretty good, I think. There is a lot of CGI. There's a lot of green screens, and you can kind of see that. It's funny, we're going to get like that CGI, horde battle at the end, except it's on like the ocean floor, But Black Manta looks intimidating, and Momoa, we assume, will be, really charming, really funny, really captivating. So I'm looking forward to it. It comes out this December, but I'm not convinced that it'll be great yet. But I hope so, obviously.
And lastly, Godzilla, starring Bryan Cranston, Millie Bobby Brown, Tom Middleditch.
Wait, Cranston's back?
Oh, wait, no. Sorry, that was the first one.
Didn't he die?
Yeah, he died in the first one. Sorry. Yeah, Cranston's not back. No, it's Millie Bobby Brown, Tom Middleditch. Who else is in this one?
Kyle Chandler.
Yes,
Ken Watanabe's back.
Yep.
A few other people. It's good. It's a solid cast. Vera Farmiga.
Right.
All the way in. That
Okay.
trailer fucking rules. You got all like fucking everything. Mothra, Ghidorah, Rodan, and of course Godzilla's back. And that's just coming off of, I thought the first one was like really exceptional. 2014, Gareth Edwards. That's, you know, his prelude to Rogue One, and just the sheer like scale and darkness of the film I thought was awesome. Like, and there was that shot like when Aaron Taylor Johnson's like soldier dude like does that like that halo jump from the helicopter when it's all dark and stormy, and there's that like eerie music. I thought, I mean, that shot's great. It's in the trailer. And this one now, it just seems like you're just doubling down on the fucking terror. So I'm really stoked for it because I think it's gonna do what it's setting out to do. It's gonna be a fucking badass monster movie with incredible CGI. I mean, this movie will be coming out next year, and it'll have fucking been in post-production for like a year and like 8 months. They're putting so much time in special effects for this, and you can see it already in the trailers. So yeah, I'm really stoked for it.
Yeah, I think the CGI looks really good. I'm optimistic about this movie. I don't really even love monster movies, so I'm in, especially because they used Claire de Lune, which I think is also like a cheat code. Like most trailers that use that and can use it effectively just creates a great effect to it. So, but yeah, I'm in. I think everybody after seeing the trailers this weekend was like, Godzilla is the movie we're most excited for. So a lot of good stuff. Definitely read up on Comic-Con. There wasn't, I don't think it was much big news, but definitely some gems and some stuff to be tracking in there.
Yeah, I was surprised we didn't get more DC slate stuff, you know, like Shazam and Aquaman were obvious, but like we didn't get an official acknowledgement of the Birds of Prey hiring director. We didn't really get much about the Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. We know it's going into production later this year, like it's happening. They still talk about it, you know. I kind of wanted to hear more from them, but there's always next year, I guess. But yeah, overall, a lot of cool stuff came out of it.
Why don't we talk about James Gunn real quick here? You know, I don't really want to get into like the right or wrong side of this, but I mean, he was fired off Guardians after some tweets from, I believe it was 2011 or around that time.
08 to 12, I think, is the range.
2012.
Yeah.
Were dug up, and a lot of them were really lewd jokes relating to like child molestation, things like that. Just really inappropriate stuff that I think some of it had been deleted, some of it not. Some of it had been like taken off a website that keeps like all of like the Twitter or all the tweets ever made or something like that. So there's a lot of sides to this, but the main stuff for what we care about is he was fired off Guardians 3. Obviously he directed the first two.
He wrote the first two as well.
Wrote the first two. I think he actually wrote this one, or at least handed in an early rough draft. So I mean, how do you feel about him getting fired? I mean, obviously we don't need to go into the right or wrong, but how do you think this is going to affect Guardians moving forward, and who would you want to see take over?
It's a great question. Yeah, I mean, when I saw the controversy, I was, yeah, he's probably getting canned, and I don't have a problem with them firing him. He's helming a fucking kids movie. Yeah, you know, after all. I am a little rubbed off the wrong way that it came from Mike Cernovich of all people, you know, someone so hypocritical, so, you know, heinous like him. But, and it's not a clean comparison to the Roseanne firing, you know, because it's stuff that happened before he was hired. And then you also see people bringing up, oh, Johnny Depp, you brought him back for another Pirates movie after the shit with Amber Heard came out. So where is the line? Disney's inconsistency with this kind of stuff is a little bothersome, but I do think they were pretty, you know, right to do that if they wanted to. That being said, yeah, he's and that's something that annoys me is like there's a lot of like pent up like justice for James Gunn. You only care about this really badly because you love Guardians, but the other stuff you're not as vocal about. You know, just a lot of people being inconsistent. But you know, it remains he's not going to be with Guardians at all. I figure they'll probably keep that script around to a certain extent. He really was kind of the heart and soul of what made Guardians work, and that'll never go away. And it does seem like the cast is all really supportive of him. Yeah. But if anyone was to just, you know, to replace him, it's obviously someone will. It was slated to go in production later this year. We'll see if that holds, but for 2020 release date. But I like Taika Waititi to do it, the director of Thor Ragnarok. If you're going to do it, go with someone in-house, someone you can count on, I think you can go with him. Because it doesn't seem like a Thor movie's coming anytime soon, at least not for probably 2 years, 3 years. We even really hear about it. So you'd have the time if you wanted to. So yeah, I mean, his name's been thrown around with other big name non-Marvel projects, so I doubt he's an easy one to lock down again. But yeah, he'd be my top choice for sure. What about you?
Yeah, Taika was my first thought too. I would also, I know that there was some issues with Edgar Wright. He was gonna direct Ant-Man. Then there was some issues in production. I would, if they could smooth things out, I feel like he would be a great replacement as well. I think he brings a good atmosphere,
Right.
but I doubt that would happen.
Yeah, you'd feel like he wouldn't be as apt to like take the call anymore. But
right.
from everything we know, they work. Marvel has worked with directors way better the past since like 2016. So it's like a lot of those old Marvel critiques aren't as accurate as they once were. So perhaps Edgar Wright would have a better time making it, but he probably still wouldn't get the total creative control he'd want to sign on. Probably not the most realistic pick.
Yeah, but if I'm remembering too, with that whole thing, a lot of it was around like getting licensing for songs with the movie. And if that's the case with Guardians, I mean, they always ball out on the music budget. I mean, they always have really well-known songs in there. So I wonder if that might smooth it over. But yeah, I think Taika seems like the right fit. And also, obviously, if I think you mentioned the Russo brothers would be somebody, they've worked with them. They kind of know the tone of that they can bring to a movie and how to use them in a movie. So,
well, I don't think you can pick them because they're doing post-production on Avengers 4 right now. So they probably don't have the time.
Right, and that's the thing. If this is going to push back any kind of timeline or anything, I wouldn't be surprised if they like maybe move something like one movie up and then push this back just to make sure that they're doing it right. Because Guardians seems like one of their major properties moving forward. But
right now, it was the Guardians 3 was the only 2020 movie. I don't even think it had a hard date, but because next year Captain Marvel, Avengers 4, and Spider-Man: Far From Home, and after that we just had Guardians 3 sometime in 2020, I believe. So. They're not beholden to keeping that. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, do you think there's any chance they rehire him, given a lot of the, I guess, up in arms about the firing? And it's not just angry nerds. There is some intellectual points being made about it. I mean, do you think there's any chance that they'd bring him back? I feel like at this point they're committed to it.
Yeah, Disney is very careful with their branding. I don't think they want to lean one way or the other on these sort of issues. So I think since they've made this decision, they're going to stick with it and they'll move forward with a replacement. So I don't think there's any chance of it. As we're kind of transitioning here, just last thoughts. I mean, there's a lot of superhero movies. We talked about trailers for them. We talked about them a lot today. We have one more left this year, which is DC.
Aquaman December. Yep.
Aquaman December. So, I mean, you're thinking about the next 2 years and thinking about this idea of superhero fatigue. What superhero movies are you most excited for other than Avengers? Like, if you put that out, I mean, like, what are you really looking forward to? I'm not looking forward to Shazam. Aquaman, I'm barely looking forward to. I mean, I guess Black Panther 2 has to be coming down the road somewhere. Spider-Man.
Spider-Man will get next summer. That's, it's happening. It's already being made. So I'm looking forward to that for sure. That movie fucking ruled. They got Jake Gyllenhaal as Mysterio. Yeah. That sounds awesome.
It's going to be awesome.
Trying to get I mean, I'd love X-Men Dark Phoenix to be good, but Fox has a uneven track record. That was pushed back. So is New Mutants. We'll get both of those next year. DC next year is just Shazam and Wonder Woman 2. The Flash, I'm hopeful for just because they got Jonathan Goldstein and John Francis Daly to helm that movie, and obviously they wrote Spider-Man: Homecoming. So obviously they wrote a lot of stuff. They're a pretty talented duo. So that could be good, but again, the failure to launch a lot of the DC movies is always a little disconcerting. But they seem to be running the ship slowly. And there's only so many other Marvel movies. Captain Marvel, I think, could be cool just because they're bringing back some of those Guardians characters like Ronan. I just want to see what they do with that, as like a period piece movie. But yeah, after that, I mean, there's only so many movies even on the calendar. So yeah.
It's just interesting because I feel like for so long it's been like this one, and now looking forward, it's kind of like, maybe it's a little bit more sparse, or maybe it will flesh itself out for sure.
Well, that's the thing. Marvel still has 3 movies a year through 2022 or whatever, but we just don't know what they are yet. They're keeping that part close, but they still have all the dates claimed. So, yeah, probably right after Avengers, maybe the Comic-Con after Avengers next year from now, we'll probably get that next slate. You know, you'd think, or maybe they'll do it at D23. Who knows? So, and then this time we're kind of in a holding pattern. You know, till Avengers comes out, which is fine. I'm not worried about it.
Yeah, I'm cool with a little bit of a superhero break for sure. 88 Rising. Let's jump into some music here. So this is a media collective, a musical group that's
it's
like
it's an indie label, really.
Right. And basically, what their main focus is to sign and produce and promote musicians or of Asian descent. Is my understanding?
Yeah, they're not all Asian on the label, but yeah, I mean, Rich Brian, obviously the most famous, as well as Higher Brothers, Keith Ape, Joji. You know, yeah. So Asian artists is their focus for sure.
And this is the first album as a collective, which I wasn't even really on my radar until it popped up. And I didn't hate this album. I actually will say it was enjoyable at parts. I thought it was a little uneven, but it was kind of obvious that this is a collective album, that there's a lot of people making different sounds, and it's almost kind of like a compilation album in a way of just like songs of a year. What was your initial reaction listening to it, and then why don't you pick out a couple of the songs that stood out to you?
Yeah, so I think what stood out to me most was how like Rich Brian is very like on the periphery for most of the album. Like he has that solo song on there, and he's got a few, you know, he's on a few group songs, but overall he's not like dominating the record, which I think is smart. You know, that's like when Cruel Summer came out, Kanye was in a lot, but he was far from like the dominating force on the record, you know. And I think my biggest winners were Higher Brothers and Joji personally, which are probably the 2 most famous acts after Rich Brian on the group. But just because I thought Higher Brothers, you know, they showcased a lot on this. They have, I think, 2 EPs, one of which was in Chinese, and they've kind of given us little tastes, and they're really funny. They have some really cool videos already. But this when I listened to this, I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in on Higher Brothers now. And Joji, as just like a singer, you know, like you said, you spoke to the unevenness of it. Joji's very unique and different than really everyone else, you know. So like naturally, it's gonna feel like a compilation more than anything. But I thought Joji had some great moments, like Peach Jam.
Yeah,
so
Peach Jam was
yeah,
great.
I was pleasantly surprised for sure.
One of the things I actually noticed on this was like a lot of borrowing of sounds. I guess I'll put that in air quotes. Like the beginning of, let me see, I wrote it down here. The beginning of Plans is literally the beginning of Dance Yourself Clean by LCD Sound System. The drumming throughout is the exact same. I was like, it caught my ear because I was like, is this about to be like a sample of it? But they actually, I think, just ripped it.
Interesting. I'm sure it's credited on the liner notes.
I didn't check it out. The other one, Midsummer Madness. At one point, like the groove into the chorus sounds just like 1,000 Years by like Vanessa Carlson. And I was laughing because I literally started singing 1,000 Years in my head listening to it. But I liked both of those songs. I thought they were great. A song I absolutely hated on this though was War Paint. Man, that was like one of my least favorite songs of the year, I think.
Nicki is not one of my favorites on the artist on the label. So yeah, I agree. Wasn't a fan of that one.
But I think the other one that stood out was Loverboy 88. I really liked.
Yeah, I think Loverboy 88 and then Nothing Wrong really show you how like I don't know, talented, versatile Higher Brothers could be, because like those are fucking crossover songs already. And like they came up as this rap trio that kind of does like a, you know, mimicry of American trap. And now they're making crossover hits like Nothing Wrong. Like they got a sung chorus on that. I think that song fucking bangs. And I did not expect them to already go outside their comfort zone this fast. So that was my big takeaway.
Yeah, I mean, there were definitely some really great moments on the album, and I think there's a lot here to like. I recommend it to anybody that's into pop, into rap. I think you can find something for everybody here and find some new artists to really be diving into. So definitely check that out. Any last thoughts on 88 Rising?
Shout out Goldlink, featured on Nothing
Yeah.
Wrong. He's on a great feature run post Crew. Good for him.
Why don't we jump into an album I've been waiting to talk about? I've been listening to quite a bit. Snail Mail's Lush, the first full length album from Lindsey Jordan and her band. Dropped the Habit EP 2 years ago. I mentioned the song Thinning off that, which I really liked. I think everybody knows at this point that I really like this album. It's probably one of my biggest surprises of the year. I'm wondering, Dave, as somebody that's not huge into indie rock especially, where'd you fall with this album? I'm expecting not good.
So
here we go.
Much like her Matador Records label mates, Julian Baker and Car Seat Headrest, I'm not a big fan of Snail Mail's vocals. Subdued, conservative vocals like that are really reserved, I just can't get into. I don't care how good the songwriting is. I just don't enjoy it that much. And that was really my takeaway with Lush. I also listened to the Habit EP as well, and I think Lush is better for sure. And I like the Heat Wave, which I think is like probably one of the bigger songs off Lush. I think it has a music video already. I'm listening to it. I'm like, yeah, I get it, but these vocals just don't do it for me. So,
I think it's
impressive how she writes about like, I guess like heartache and stuff in mundane, not like extra way, you know. But at the end of the day, I don't like enjoy like jamming out to it.
Yeah,
but I see the hype.
Yeah, I think one of the things I really like about her, and you can hear a lot from Habit to this album, Lush, is she's really like coming into her own. She's only 18 years old. She dropped Habit when she was 16, and Habit even sounds lo-fi in a lot of ways. Her voice kind of fades into the music, and it's almost like it's just a part of it, kind of like a beach house sound in a lot of ways. God. And she really, it really sticks out more here. The production's way better on this, and she has moments vocally that I thought were really great. It's not great throughout. I think like you said, that's a fair critique. Her guitar work though is probably the thing that stands out most to me. She's been like classically trained since she was like 5 years old. So I think you can see her and Mitski, I kind of really see in like the same class going forward as like the next like St. Vincent.
Interesting. Like 10-year age difference there.
Definitely. So, but Mitski, the sound reminds me more of St. Vincent, but Lindsey Jordan definitely has like more of the guitar chops with it. You already mentioned Heat Wave. Pristine, also a song off this I think is really great. It's funny also as you talk about like the sad or like the kind of mellow vocals to it. It reminds me a lot of Dashboard Confessional. I got a real Dashboard Confessional vibe to this, which if you like early Dashboard, like you'll like this. If you aren't a big fan of being saddened in your feelings in that way, maybe you're not going to enjoy it as much. So I say check it out. We put one of the songs on the playlist, which go to our Spotify playlist, Nowstalgia Best of 2018. We got another follower, so shout outs to you.
Up to 70 something tracks already. We're a lot of music coming out. All genres are on there. So yeah, follow that playlist. A lot of good stuff there.
And speaking of all genres, we touched on 88 Rising's a mixed bag.
For sure.
Snail Mail's indie. Now we're going to talk about some R&B, funk, jazz even, with the Internet's Hive Mind. This is their fourth album. First one since 2015. Follow up to Ego Death, which was Grammy nominated, got them a ton of buzz. Probably their most famous song, Girls, on that album. They've been around since 2011. This is Sid and Matt Martians from Odd Future.
Yeah, I mean they originally founded the group when they were still part of Odd Future. So yeah, Purple Naked Ladies came out in 2011, and then Feel Good 2013. And those two records are both pre-Steve Lacy. He's got a lot of attention lately, but he wasn't a founding member. But his role in the group, I think, really stands out. And leading up to this album, I mean, last year, Matt, Sid, and Steve all released solo projects, which were all pretty solid. I thought Sid's Finn was good. Could have been a little better in my opinion, but Steve Lacy's demo, which was really short, obviously, hence the name, I thought really showed what he can do. And then he had that feature earlier this year on Kaliukis' record, Isolation, Just a Stranger. So I think he's definitely another talent to watch, like Sid and Matt. And I think Hive Mind is my favorite record from the internet. I haven't been a big fan of their stuff. Like I've got it, but it's like I always thought it was kind of like half baked, all the R&B spacey shit they would do. So I was really pleased with this because I think this was a much more cohesive listen, and that's despite the fact that the last record was already Grammy nominated. So you got to fear this one will get some attention again. But yeah, what do you think of it?
Yeah, I thought it was great. I thought this one was less spacey, a little bit more tight than their former work.
I think Steve's increased influence is starting to show.
Yeah, I would agree with that. And actually, I think it's funny because obviously Sid, Matt, and Steve get most of the credit, but I think the parts that the parts that I enjoyed most actually is probably Patrick Page's bass work throughout it, like especially on Roll, which I thought was just phenomenal.
Good song.
You really just like. I love that groove on it. There's a lot to like here, but this is an album that you like light a blunt to and like sit on your couch. Like it's not an album you're going to put on to like
it's vibe music. It's mood music.
Exactly. And it, like you said, it's airy and spacey and it has a lot of different influences on it. But the other thing about this, Ego Death had some features. Kate Trinata was on a track. They had Janelle Monáe. This had no features. So this is really just the band, and they each have their moments. But overall, I thought this was a good album, not a great one, but I think it will also, probably get some Grammy nomination and some attention award season.
Yeah, I think when the internet falters, it's kind of like my critique of Snail Mail. I think sometimes Sid vocally is just not that impressive. And when it's too sleepy, I just think it takes away from the good production. The production's almost always great, Yeah. Sometimes the vocals leave little to be desired. And I think when Steve, whether he's singing a hook or he's, really commanding the song, I think it's a nice respite, nice change of pace once in a while. And of course, Sid also has great moments on this. Like I think "Come Over," the second single, that's probably my favorite song. Already has the video, but not perfect again. But I think that's kind of they like to try different things on all their albums, and that's no different on Hive Mind.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just glad to have them back. They're just a great band to have, and I'm sure we'll be hearing their tracks in TV shows and stuff to come. Like I would almost guarantee Insecure is gonna drop a
good call.
A moment where the internet's on there. We already put "Come Over" onto the playlist. I just want to give a shout out to my two other favorite songs, or my favorite song other than "Roll," "Gets Better." I thought was really, or "It Gets Better." I thought was a really good one. So definitely give this album a listen if you get the chance.
Body Da's pretty good too. The third single.
Yeah, third single also a good one. So if you want to check this out, go to our Spotify playlist. We got everything you want to listen to on there. Something I'm kind of wondering how we should do this moving forward, because I do think there should be a place where we can like be ranking our movies, and people who are fans of the pod can see our rankings and be following along.
I think we need a blog, dog.
Well, you already got one, right?
It's true. We can just rename it.
There you go. Don't worry, he won't get far on foot. I have a feeling this isn't going to be at the top of either one of our lists, but it was a pretty good movie. A Gus Van Sant joint. I like calling things joint now that Spike Lee's calling his movie a joint. So.
Spike Lee joint. When he did the story for NBA 2K, I want to say 2014 or something, they called it a Spike Lee joint. It's pretty funny.
Yeah, I'm down with that. 77% Rotten Tomatoes. I think it only made like close to 400K. There's a small box office for it.
Small theaters. Yeah. It's not gonna. It's the indie box office scene. It's a cheap movie.
Exactly.
Small exhibition.
Yeah, and it's Amazon Studio, so I mean
it'll be on Prime later in the year.
Exactly. So if you don't want to go out to the movies and see it, you can watch it with your Prime subscription soon. Joaquin Phoenix plays John Calloway in this, also surrounded by Jonah Hill. Callahan, sorry. Jonah Hill, Rooney Mara, Jack Black, Carrie Brownstein, which it was really funny to see Carrie Brownstein in this movie because it takes place in Oregon, and the last thing I knew her from was Portlandia. So I was just like, oh, of course you're going to be on this. Makes a lot of sense. I mean, we're probably going to get a spoiler. So if you don't want this movie to be spoiled for you for some reason, come back.
It's a biopic of sorts. It's not it's a nonfiction, fictional portrayal of a real person.
It's literally based off of John Callahan's autobiography.
The Oregon cartoonist. Yeah. But before we go into spoilers, I think we both think it's good. Not fantastic, not amazing, but it's worth a watch. Good performances.
and come back after. So jumping into spoilers, I mean, Joaquin Phoenix is on a goddamn heater of performances, I gotta say. Like, I was just looking through like the movies he's done: The Master, Inherent Vice, Her, The Immigrant, Two Lovers, We Own the Night, You Were Never Really Here. I mean, maybe there's like one or two like listful or list performances, I could say, but overall, just like every time he takes a movie, I feel like I come away being like, God damn, that guy can act. What did you think of his performance in this?
Yeah, well, it's nice to see him back with Gus Van Sant. He gave Joaquin his break back in the 80s, late 80s. And Gus Van Sant is really interesting because if you look at his career, he's a guy who's got an up and down filmography. I mean, he has Milk in 2008, which was probably the one of his most, well, it's funny because he has Milk and Good Will Hunting, which are the only two movies he's made that have grossed over $50 million. But Good Will Hunting, he doesn't get a lot of credit for. No. Everyone gives credit to how plain he directed it, and he let the screenplay from Affleck and Damon do all the heavy lifting, you know. So his best movie is probably Drugstore Cowboy, I guess. But these are a lot of small movies. He gets the fact that he's a bigger name. So, but yeah, it's cool to see him back with Joaquin, and yeah, I thought Joaquin was really good, and he kind of gave like a multi-layered performance as Callahan does his ups and downs throughout his life, and that was nice to see. You know, it's different than, it's not as intense as You Were Never Really Here. I think that's overall a better performance, just because it requires more out of Joaquin, whether it's physical acting, you know, or just conveying emotion at the end. But this movie, I think it's a convincing portrayal. He's probably not the only one who could have pulled this off, though. It's not like that level of Joaquin role, but yeah, he was good.
Yeah, you know, it's funny because I thought Van Sant was fine. Like, I think there was some like confusing parts, and the timeline things almost kind of seem like,
that's my main problem with the movie.
Yeah, I didn't think it even made a lot of sense when you would jump in and out of it.
Meanders. It's longer than it needs to be. You know, it's like in the middle. I was like, am I liking this as much as I think I am? Like, I wasn't quite sure it knew what it was trying to tell me. You know, and I think it wraps up nicely. But yeah, I think there were some pacing and structure issues.
Yeah, definitely. And I also felt like they yada some pretty important parts. Like pretty much all of his like making amends with people, they're just like, oh, he's gonna go and then it's fine.
It was like a glorified montage.
Yeah, and like I would have liked to have seen some of those conversations, or at least like parts of them, if possible.
Jack Black convo was good.
Yeah, I thought so too. And that I thought Jack Black was actually really great. He got to be very Jack Blacky for the first part of his performance, and then he actually kicked in some of those acting chops near the end.
When they're on the bender or having that night, that's great. Like there's that shot where they're both on the roller coaster and they're both already tanked. They're like swaying, and I'm like, oh, that's great. That's a great shot, and it's a shot that's totally out of place in the film because everything else is so plain.
I know.
You know, but I loved everything with that moment.
Yeah, when I was seeing that, it's funny because obviously it's going to be different stylistically, but I was like, I can really see Joaquin as the Joker, like doing this, because it calls back to Heath Ledger, obviously the last one, or second to last one. I'm skipping over Jared Leto's most recent one. The thing, you mentioned how the internet and Snail Mail kind of can be sleepy at times. I felt that way during parts of this movie. And the line in the movie that I think describes the movie best is he's talking with Donnie, and he like talks about how, or he's in the group and he talks about how he like didn't feel wanted as a kid and how that made him basically like drink all of his problems away, so he never had to feel anything. And then he's like, I thought I was going to feel so much better after I said this. I don't feel it. I don't really feel that anything. And he's like, yeah, that's kind of how this stuff works. Like, it's not those big moments. Like, you don't really feel it that way. And I was just like, that's how I feel about this movie. Like, it had potential to have those big moments, or I wanted to have those really big moments, and it never really had a big moment. It felt too just even keel.
Yeah, he doesn't have like a come to Jesus moment. There's no mea culpa really, you know. And like I like Jonah Hill a lot. I think it's a great Jonah Hill performance. Again, a truly underrated dramatic actor. I'm really happy he continues to make these kind of choices. At the end, when they finally break it to you that he's sick, and you assume it's AIDS or HIV because you know he's gay, and at the time the movie takes place in the 80s, and like they don't he does like the mouth, and he kind of makes a joke of it, but he doesn't say, John, I have AIDS. He doesn't spell it out for John or the audience. I'm like, oh, cool. I like that. Then made you figure it out on your own. And at the end, when he dies, John's like, oh yeah, he died of AIDS. I was like, did you have to? It's a little thing. It doesn't really change anything. But for me, I was just like, come on, just let us know that already. It's a smarter movie than that.
Yeah, and I don't know. It's also another problem I have with it is you have Rooney Mara, right? She plays his girlfriend in this, and dog.
The fuck is the point of her?
Yeah, exactly. Like, how do you
talk
not
about
give
failing
her
the
more
Bechdel test?
I mean, even at the end, like they're going through the comics, and he's like, "Which one do you think is funnier?" And her actual line is, "I don't know." That like sums up her character better than anything. I mean, like at least have her make a choice. Like, I mean, you have a great actress like Rooney Mara, who, I mean, she's not only gorgeous, but she just is a fantastic actress.
Yeah.
To like not give her anything to do.
Oscar nominated.
It's criminal, man. Criminal.
Aren't they? They're real life partners, right? Joaquin and Rooney.
Oh, I did not know that.
I think that might factor into the why she decided to do a glorified bit role, because it's with her fucking boyfriend. I don't know.
Yeah, that's got to be the only reason I can think of. Like, she's way above a role like that. I mean, looking through one thing I did think that stood out to me and added a lot of emotional heft to the emotional moments was Danny Elfman's musical direction on this.
Right.
Really liked
a lot of shit for his DC scores recently, but I think he did a good job with this.
Yeah, I mean, he gives it a great tone at the beginning. It's very like jazzy, and then he fills it out with some really nice some orchestral pieces, and I think he also put in some like 70s songs to kind of give it that atmosphere as well throughout. So I thought that was really great. Other than that, I mean, Joaquin's great. Yeah,
I think his whole struggle with alcoholism and his struggle with becoming paralyzed, I think, is played well. I'm watching the movie and I'm like, we just had the whole thing with Scarlett Johansson dropping out of that transgender film because she's not a transgender person, right? Mm-hmm. And I was like, are we going to have that with handicapped people too? Should an able-bodied man be playing this? There's not a lot of these roles, and they're always going to the more famous able-bodied actor, Yeah. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of the same principle. So that did cross my mind. I think not everyone thinks that way, but I did think of that. But I thought overall it was pretty compelling, when he's going to physical therapy and when that funny moment when he gets the nurse to sit on his face. I thought that was awesome. Yeah. And to confirm, Rooney and Joaquin, not only are they dating together, and Rooney Mara is selling her house. So,
wow.
Serious.
We're bringing you all the latest happenings in Hollywood couples. You mentioned the thing about like sitting on his face scene, though. There were some funny moments like that. Like the what was the line? It was something about like someone's cooch. I can't. Yep. I didn't write down. I have it pulled up here.
Overall, his black comedy, which eventually made him famous through his cartoons. I think overall it played really well.
Yeah, and the way that they spliced that in around his accident too, like how they showed the cartoon of the guy like outside the car, I thought was really great. Other than just showing it,
what'd you think of that motif he kept having, where it's like, yeah, I only know 3 things about my mother. She was Irish American, she had red hair, and whatever. Oh yeah, and she didn't want me or something, I think he did that 2 or 3 times.
Yeah,
almost verbatim.
Yeah, I mean, it kind of became the way he understood his life, and that was such a pivotal moment. I thought that scene was kind of hokey, even though it was obviously like something that he must have really happened to him. Where he like feels the hand on his back and sees his mom, or has the hallucination of his mom. But I think it was just to drive home the point. Like, he knows so little about his past, and that's what kind of haunts him and pushes his struggle forward. Also, I really liked him whipping around that motorized wheelchair.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Awesome. It was like must have been one of like the first ones to really be motorized like that.
Sure, because you could see how big it was, which is form factor, not a modern, that's for sure. And also funny when the kids are like, yo, you wiped out, man. And I was like, oh fuck, these kids gonna like mug him right now. Oh no, they thought it was funny. Nice. Yeah, I thought all the sponsor scenes at Jonah Hill's home were good. I thought I mean, we didn't get much from those other people in the group, but I thought they all gave pretty good performances. The
Reba,
that one, yeah, the one woman, not the Valium wife, the other one. She was this was her first film role.
wow.
So good for her because I thought she did a good job.
You're talking about the bigger woman, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I thought she was fantastic. Like when she's laughing at him saying like, "Oh, I'm paralyzed" or whatever, and she starts laughing. He's like, "What are you laughing at?" And he's like, "You can't know what it's like to go through this." And she's like, "Well, actually, I have cancer of the heart." So
yeah,
boom, like,
burn.
And also when the guy freaks out about how women can't understand what it's like for men to. That was like
go to war.
Yeah, really powerful. Yeah, I mean, there's some things to really like about it. I think overall, it's a good movie to watch at home because there were times I just kind of wanted to like check my phone, and there you could have and not really missed much. So if you don't really have a connection to John Callahan as a person, I would say, well, wait till this hits your Amazon Prime, then check it out. Any last thoughts around
story worth learning though? So yeah, I think it's worth the watch. But yeah, overall, it was longer and not as well paced as it could have been.
Any last thoughts?
No, but go see it at some point.
What we got next week? Fill people in, Dave.
Yeah, next. Well, so Wednesday, I'm trying to gauge your temperature on this. We have Castle Rock coming out, probably the number 2 biggest show of the year for Hulu after Handmaids. It's a psychological horror show based off of Stephen King work, starring Andre Holland, who we obviously saw in a lot of things, but recently in Moonlight.
Yep.
Bill Skarsgård's in there as well. So I'm not a big horror guy, but if this is more thrillery, some like Shutter Island shit, might give it a look. We'll see how it goes. That's out Wednesday. And then obviously Mission Impossible Fallout comes out this Friday. We'll be talking about that. That reviews are fucking on fire for that film.
96%.
Getting compared to Mad Max. Yeah, I got to see Henry Cavill reload his arms. Stoked for that. Then my man Denzel Curry releasing either his debut album or his third mixtape. I think it's his debut album, Taboo. Clout Cobain single and video are fucking awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I've been a big Curry fan for a while, so Denzel Curry, of course, not fuck Steph. So excited for that record, and yeah. So I think that's the main things we got. Chainsmokers, not an album. So first thought they have a single coming out Fridays, but who fucking cares, right?
Yeah, exactly. Who the fuck cares? Yeah, I haven't cared about any of those EDM songs coming out this summer. I haven't really heard any of that have like taken over the zeitgeist either. So maybe it's a move away.
It's so EDM's so homogenous now.
Yeah,
like Marshmello is nothing. His sound is there's nothing to it. It's and he's so famous, so it's like, all right, if that's what people like, fine, but they can't fucking pick it out of a lineup. It's weird seeing how the dubstep and then like the bro step thing bell curve, and then we've got this weird amalgamation of like new house. It's EDM's weird right now.
Yeah, it feels like EDM and like also comedy movies. I was talking with Sean McKenna, and The Ringer's been talking a lot about this with Step Brothers coming out, but like comedy movies just in general, I feel like are kind of at a lull. There's no like huge comedy stars other than maybe like Kevin Hart right now, and Tiffany Haddish is that movie in that direction.
Right. And yeah, because like you look back at like the late 2000s and like a lot of them are Apatow films, but there's like these like seminal studio comedies that people love to revisit, like The Step Brothers, a Superbad, a 40-Year-Old Virgin, a Pineapple Express, right? Mm-hmm. And now it's like you get these studio comedies. A lot of them are quite good. I thought Game Night actually is exceptional, and I thought Blockers had a great message and was really great too. But the biggest thing with studio comedies now is that they made their money back. Remember Rough Night last year bombed. The House with Will Ferrell and Amy Poehler bombed. It's not that these movies don't have good talent. It's just, right. I don't know. It's studio comedies are one of the sufferers of people not going to the movies as much,
Yeah,
I think this year's actually not that bad with Game Night and Blockers, and to a lesser extent you have Tag and Uncle Drew as well. Mm-hmm. So, but again, it's a lowered bar.
Yeah, it's just crazy to think about how there was like the Seth Rogen, James Franco crew, the Vince Vaughn, Owen Wilson, Will Ferrell, and whoever he was doing movies with, and also like Tina Fey coming up with like Amy Poehler and all them, like all at the
Kristen
same time.
Wiig.
From, like, from like 2000 to like 20, like 12, 13, 14.
Yeah, like what's like the last great comedy? Bridesmaids is 2011. That can't be the most recent one, but is it?
I ride hard for Jumanji, dude. Like I really like Jumanji, but I don't know if it would be considered like in that pantheon. But like
I don't think it would be. Same thing with like Trainwreck.
Yeah,
like from Amy Schumer.
Yeah,
comedies. And that's the thing, because right now we're in a stand-up comedy boom. So it's not a comedy itself, but just comedy films.
Yeah.
Interesting.
I think the political climate has a lot to do with that. It's hard to be ridiculous or make jokes about things when people are. It's very touchy right now on a lot of sides.
And a lot like a lot of the late night guys are having their best runs. Probably just about all of them except for Fallon and Corden. Yeah. So it's a comedy just in a weird space right now. It's interesting to watch.
Definitely. So we got some stuff to talk about next week. If you want to hit us up at Nowstalgia Pod on Twitter, click on SoundCloud, soundcloud.com/Nowstalgia Pod, and click somewhere below to subscribe on YouTube. Dave, will you be releasing any sports podcasts this week?
I don't have any planned.
No.
So I don't have a schedule for that. I never said we'd had one. So we just got two good ones in the can right away.
Okay.
But make sure everyone sees 8th Grade. Forgot to mention that again. Because they'll be out in more theaters. See 8th Grade this week, because we'll be talking about it.
Maybe you'll do an MLB trade trade deadline podcast, something like that.
Maybe.
We'll see. Who cares about baseball, right? Anyways, we'll be talking to you all next week. Peace out.